too much comfort in filmmaking, in my opinion, Bilal,
Mm.
it makes the film weak. You got to be fighting for that film. Mr. Bilal Motley, welcome to Building Community. Let's talk some about what's coming up next for you, man. I got a couple of things I'm working on, and you said you were working on something regarding the environmental issue in Chester.
Yes, one of the films is Trash and Burn, and it's going to be about 18-minute film about the environmental situation in Chester. And what I tried to do there is just not try to pick a side, which can be complicated, but just show the sides, and you decide as the viewer, like what this person says, and make sure everybody is spoken for. That's Trash and Burn. It's about that, and then also, I'm almost done. I'm in post-production on the track. I've been following the Chester High track team. I was a former track star at Chester High School. I was the top runner in the country, 400-meter runner country at the time. And I followed them kind of like Hoop Dreams for track. And track and field, I think, needed more light. You know what I mean? And being a former track star, it comes full circle. I run into my college coach at the Penn Relays. Like, I followed the team to the Penn Relays, the ultimate event, where the whole world is there at the University of Pennsylvania, descends on the Penn Relays at Franklin Field. So I followed them for 2 years, just finished filming that. And just trying to do maybe a 3-part series on Chester. So environmental, sports, and how that can impact a young person's life. And also they're in the pre-stages of an MLK film on the history of MLK in Chester, his 3 years he spent here. So I've been at Calvary Baptist Church, you know what I mean, in Chester. And, I filmed there maybe once, met the pastor. I met people that knew Martin Luther King. He was like, oh yeah, he lived, you know what I mean? Like, tell all the stories. So, trying to, show more about Chester, Pennsylvania. So I tell filmmakers, hey, just start where you are. There's stories everywhere around you. You know what I mean? Just tell the heck out of that story, but make sure you learn the fundamentals of storytelling. You can learn that at Scribe Video Center, where I learned took screenwriting classes for years. So yeah.
So Trash and Burn is on the way pretty soon?
Yes, pretty soon. Yeah.
So how do you roll that out? Like, what's its first introduction to public viewing?
So the way I typically do it is you start at film festivals. So you apply. So I've applied to like 30 of them. And you can take your current work in progress. It doesn't have to be done. And they can, kind of judge it from there. Also, for Trash and Burn, I'm taking a different approach than usual. I've been looking up all the journalists that have talked about this topic of environmental justice. I'm going to send it to them, just try to get it out more. And also want to do some community stuff as well in Chester and in the surrounding areas, so they can see a film that is balanced, get discussed. Because usually when you read an article on the issue, oh, bad, this person, good. No, I'm going to present all the sides and you decide. I'm not going to try to weigh in. And this was the hardest film I ever had to make, because being from there, it's just hard. In interviewing certain characters in the film, but this person might have grown up with my dad. This person might, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, Dad, how do you stay honest as a filmmaker? But, you still have to be around these people so after this film comes out. So
the film that I'm working on, which is behind me, a series of films, which I don't know that I even want to try to speak in an objective way, so to speak, about it. When I think about Framing Alexander, which is a series of stories about a Black boy who was executed in 1931, falsely accused and executed of killing a white woman in 1931, and then exonerated last year, June 13th, 2022. When I think about that story, and I think about how his execution set the stage for so many of those deaths, which is what I have in the poster behind me. It's like all of these other children would become victims of a similar kind of thing. I keep thinking, I want people to get very clear through this film or these series of films that what happened to him is what continues to happen today. I'm curious for both of you, and I'll give my answer after I hear yours. Some of your favorite Black films and filmmakers.
A person or two you want to throw out, Bilal?
Yes. few people. Stanley Nelson. Stanley Nelson, to me, you got Ken Burns, but to me, it's like Stanley Nelson. Stanley Nelson is just his filmography just incredible. Like the film he did on Miles Davis was masterful. His film on his experiences, kind of sort of growing up at Martha's Vineyard. I mean, he didn't grow up, but he would summer there, and the history of African Americans there. It's called A Place of Our Own. He's just masterful. Everything he does is just masterful.
I have one, and I would be remiss if I did not mention her name. Carla Morales, who we unfortunately lost at the tender age of 55. Someone I worked with on a long-range project called The Book of Nimrod. It was a YouTube series, and I got involved with it almost accidentally, but then got hooked. So those are short segments, that were posted on the internet. And so, you could go back to them over and over again, because it didn't take that long to watch a segment. It might have been 10 or 15 minutes long. In totality, it went on for a few years of those. But and then I was amazed to find out how, I would meet people thinking it was pretty obscure, and they'd probably never heard of something like that with a kooky name like that. And I was amazed at how many people it had gotten to. Carla Morales,
Right.
miss her dearly.
Mhm.
Yeah. Book of Nimrod, as you said, that's something that you can find on YouTube. Definitely, Carla was a guerrilla style filmmaker. I mean, like gritty, really gritty. One of those people who was constantly pinching and pulling and staying up late, and did not have the luxury that a lot of other people ultimately get to, of being able to have, a line of credit and all of the backing and all of that. And to me, that's what filmmakers, that's what makes really good films, because you can feel the person in their fight for the film. Too much comfort in filmmaking, in my opinion, Bilal, it makes the film weak. You got to be fighting for that film.